Hello and welcome to the last word on Spurs. We are your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we are back for the latest episode of the soap opera that is Tottenham Hotspur. If you went for the very, very first time, where have you really been? We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're of course on X, we're on Instagram, and we're on Blue Sky too. And we are back to provide you with a comprehensive update during this January transfer window. I know what many are thinking. Comprehensive? Are you sure, Rick? Comprehensive? What, we're getting going now on day 31? Honestly. It has been a testing time to be a Tottenham fan. And let's bring back some of our testing guests that have been put through testing time. See where I'm going? I'm joined by the wonderful Jonny Hamme making his return. I'm joined by Dave, Irish Hotspur. And I'm joined by the wonderful Mitch Fretton, who are going to break down as to, not quite literally break down, we can't afford any more injuries, can I just say. Not literally break down, but they might break down during this show, where we are at with regards to all things Tottenham in this January transfer window. As we bring you this show on the eve, of course, of Tottenham going away to Brentford in the Premier League, where Tottenham need points. They most certainly need points, but it is really all about the market right now and what is happening as things stand. So in terms of this show and what we're going to bring you and how we're going to bring you it, we're going to update you on where Tottenham's pursuit is on non-pursuit now of Mathys Tel. It looks now that move is officially dead in the water. The player rejecting Tottenham and Daniel Levy personally face-to-face to say, I don't want to join Tottenham. And that was Mathys Tel's decision. He remains on the radar of a number of Premier League clubs. We understand Spurs, however, have potentially got one they are closing in on. And that, of course, is Tomori, where we understand as things stand, Spurs are in what we understand the closing stages of a deal for Fikayo Tomori. But we do understand at this point of recording, he is not yet given the green light to join Spurs, and where we heard that before during this transfer window. So still no guarantee that Tottenham will get Tomori over the line. We also understand in the recent couple of hours, Tottenham have put a bid in for Valencia. We understand forward Otorbi. That we understand has been rejected. So we'll come on to that and more as to where we stand. And we do know going into the final days of the transfer window, one to keep an eye on, of course, is Dibbling of Southampton. There is keen interest from Tottenham in the young Saints Academy star, with potentially Tyrese Hall heading in the other direction. We understand as things stand, moves for Wissa, moves for Okafor are not Tottenham's priority. Angel Gomez is one for the summer to watch. But we have to start with what is the headline news on this show. And as our understanding as things stand at the moment, Mathys Tel will not be a Tottenham player. He has outright rejected the opportunity to join Tottenham. Mitch, let's start with you. Tomori will come on to very, very soon. But on Tel, he has reportedly said to Tottenham, no, thank you. Any surprise for you, Mitch, on that one? Because I know there's a huge amount of the fan base that wanted to see Tel in a Tottenham shirt, which now very much looks like it's not going to happen.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me back on. I'm really happy to be here and joined by an amazing panel. But yeah, straight into it, I guess. I think the decision is very telling, if you pardon the pun, based on the situation Tottenham are in at the moment. I think it was obvious to a lot of people that the fact that we were trying to move so quickly on it and the fact that he didn't give his green light straight away suggests that he was always holding out for other clubs. I don't ever think Tottenham was a priority for him. And, you know, we risked it. We pushed ahead. Daniel Levy flew out to Munich to talk to him, got rejected to his face, which I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that conversation. But, you know, we've wasted 2 days in the last week of the transfer window trying to get a deal that, by the looks of it, was never, ever going to get done because he wants to move elsewhere. He wants to go to a different Premier League club. And ultimately, the sad reality of it, Ricky, is can you blame him for saying no? Can you blame him for saying no to come into a Premier League team sitting in 15th? I'm not entirely sure you can, as frustrated as I am, as much as I think we've wasted our time, and as much as I sort of think, well, now what? What forward do we go for now? With what do we have? 3 days left of the transfer window. yeah, it's ridiculous. And the more I sort of look into the idea of the deal, the talks and the reports were saying that the idea was to just chop some money off the Harry Kane deal for the money that Bayern still owed us for that. So you almost sit there and think, oh, perhaps this whole thing was just a smart idea by those at the top to avoid having to actually splash out 60 million or 50 million pounds or whatever it was. But yeah, it's a real shame because he is an exciting player. He is a good player. And I would have liked to have seen him join the club, but can't control how a player feels. If a player doesn't want to come and play for your football club, then they're not the right player for the football club anyway. So I guess you can look at it from that edge of the sword. On the other edge of the sword, it all just comes back around to the argument, doesn't it? You know, we've left it so late. It's the 31st of January recording this, and we still have not addressed the glaring, huge issues in the squad, despite the window shutting on Monday and a huge week coming up against Liverpool and Aston Villa in both the cup competitions. So, yeah, really frustrating. It was a player I would have loved to have seen at Tottenham, but Daniel Levy now has a huge amount of pressure on him. And he has to act, and he has to bring a forward in, an attacker of some sort. And I'm just really worried that it's going to be someone so underwhelming at this point because of how late in the window it is. And we'd only have ourselves to blame as a club because, you know, we're still operating in the way we've operated for the last decade, 2 decades under the current sort of ownership. So, you know, it's classic Tottenham is I guess how I'll finish that point off. It's classic Tottenham. Yeah,
I mean, Mitch, you raised many interesting points there by the fact that Daniel Levy has personally gone out to Germany to get the deal done. And when you've got the chairman of the football club going to Germany and not coming back with a player signature, I think you have to ask huge questions. I think you really have to. I mean, on this point, if I come over to you, Jonny, on this, that, you know, there's no doubt about it. We know that Rando Kolomoani and Mathys Tel were both Tottenham's top targets so far in this window. Both have seemingly rejected Tottenham without any real hesitation. There'll be many suggesting out there this is a result of pure neglection on the footballing side of the business, which has seen players of this nature reject us. But I think, again, we have to put this into context. These are two of a higher caliber players. I think we actually said off air, Jonny, would be really hard to try and attract to Tottenham right now, given our league position. I mean, on that point, look, I think you have to hold the ball into account. And why are we here on day 31 of the transfer window? This is for our listeners on audio. We record this show, chasing our tail. You've got a chairman that's flying over to Germany and not getting a deal done. What is Johan Langer's role in this absolute mess of a transfer window so far? I mean, can you try and understand, Jonny, what is going on right now? Because it does feel that there is no real direction. There is no real logic to what Tottenham are trying to do so late in the window now. And fans are seeing this publicly being played out, which, again, is not a great look for the football club. Your thoughts, Jonny, on what Tottenham haven't done so far this window, and we'll come on to where we stand on Tomori shortly. Can I just say again, as time of recording has not yet given Tottenham the green light, your thoughts on the Tel rejection? And we need Jonny to just unmute there if you can for us.
Didn't realise I was muted. Thank God for that. Maybe it might be best. I don't know where to start. I was so excited about coming on after last night. I was thinking, finally, Ricky's got me coming on after a win. The kids have scored the goals. I'm buzzing. You know, Dave and I have been going on about the kids now for about the last 2 years, and the potential and the excitement was buzzing. And then you get the news. We had more chance of signing William Tell than Mathys Tel. Honestly, it's absolutely pathetic. And someone said Johan Lange is more like Lex Loser. Pathetic. You go on. I mean, he spent months looking for players. How can you spend months looking for players? This isn't planned. These are opportunities. He's flown out there on an opportunity because Tel was going nowhere until they made an inquiry from Cuckoo to come in as a striker, which meant even less minutes. But I'm going to be bitter and twisted now because he's only got 250 minutes in 8 games, and he's got 1 assist all season. And he cost them 20 million, and he hasn't, really played in the last year. So I think 50 million was over the top. So I'm going to give myself that crumb of comfort, to be honest with you. But the reality is we needed him. He's an upgrade on what we had. Mawani was an upgrade on what we had. But why are we shopping? Why are we shopping so late? It's like going to the Harrods sale, on the 31st of January when it's ending. You should have been there at the beginning. If you want to get the bargains, you want to get stuff done, you prepare, you identify it. That's the whole point of having a director of football, is to target over the course of weeks who you're going to go for. And then what you do is you accelerate that process when you're in deep dog do like we are in right now. And you have to accelerate and make sure those deals are done as soon as possible. And I don't want to hear it's difficult to do to get players in. Chelsea were in the mire last year. They still managed to pull players in non-stop. Villa have done deals. City have done deals. Brentford have done deals. There are lots that Southampton have done deals. It's rubbish. It's poor. And us Spurs fans, I've had enough this season to deal with. And, Levy has shown yet again that, invite him out, Johan Lang, the combination of Lang and Levy, guaranteed to kill a deal. Just give Fabio Paratici his bloody job back. Get him back on the case and let's start doing deals like we used to do. Proper deals with proper players and not acting like a bunch of amateurs, because that's how we're behaving right now. And we've become an embarrassment every day. Like we didn't even have 24 hours of enjoyment of last night's game, looking at the future. And here we are, Paddy Power memes again, Paddy Power videos, they're meant to be funny. I can't even laugh at them anymore. I mean,
It's hard. It is hard. You're right.
Hard. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, it is tricky. I mean, David, I'll bring you in there. And I mean, I think it kind of shows where both clubs are right now, that, you've got a situation where Tel is outwardly, once again directed to Daniel Levy, rejected Tottenham, and you've got a club in Aston Villa that are still in the race, which kind of shows the difference in trajectories of both football clubs right now, despite Villa selling one of their, you'd say, assets to obviously a Saudi club in terms of a forward. But, rightly so, there's a lot of anger right now and frustration aimed at the board by the nature of this kind of last-minute trolley dash shopping. And look, whilst you can say, is it admirable to go after some of the more higher quality caliber of players? But if you don't get these deals done, Dave, as you're aware, you have egg on your face. And I think the thing is, I think people are tired of seeing the way Spurs operating, when we've said it consistently throughout the window, and Pochettino said it consistently actually before the window opened. Dominic Solanke needed help. He suggested in the last few days Tottenham are playing with fire. And let's be honest about it, it looks like Tottenham have got their fingers firmly burnt in the deal for Tel, because they've wasted 24, 48, 72 hours chasing him over Germany. Daniel Levy's gone out there. Johan Langer's gone out there. And the reality is that time now, you would argue, could have been focused more onto getting somebody else in. And again, we're in this situation where we've got to try and find a striker. We do understand Spurs are now exploring other forward opportunities, but how disappointing is it to miss out on what is deemed to be another top target of this window, Dave? The second forward so far, we understand that to be.
Look, to be honest, I'm actually happy this deal isn't getting over the line, to be quite frank. Two reasons. I think, one, it's absolutely embarrassing. If you would have told me 2 years ago, we're going to sell our best striker, the world's best striker, for 100 million to Bayern Munich, and we're going to hand them back 60 million for a prospect, I would have said, you were off your rocker, give me what you're on. So that's embarrassing, first off. Second of all, we're making the same mistakes that we made in the summer. Have we not learned our lesson? Bringing in youngsters, buying potential. We need players for the here and now, for the experience. We're trying to stave off a relegation battle in the league. Plus, we're in all the cups. And when you get to the later stages of the cup, you need consistency. You need players that have that can play week in, week out. You keep buying potential, you're going to see players up and down here that aren't going to be able to stand up in the big moments that we need at Tottenham Hotspur. So again, that's another reason why I'm glad we didn't get that deal across the line, because we can't keep buying potential. You are killing Ange Postecoglou off. You're not giving him a chance. We can sit here and moan about Postecoglou, but half the reason why we're here is because all Johan Lang could do is bring potential to this football club. We need players of real caliber, of real experience to walk into this situation, not another young prospect. Look, Mathys Tel probably would have paid off in the long run, But where we are for and what we need for the here and now, we should never have been wasting our time chasing this deal down in the first place. And the fact that the guy is begging for playing time, there's no other club in world football right now where he's going to be guaranteed the playing time more than Tottenham Hotspur, and we still can't pull him over the line. It absolutely reeks. But then you come on to the transfer window. Am I surprised it's gone like this, Ricky? To be honest, no, I'm not. I've spoke about on here. I don't believe in Johan Lang, or whatever you want to call him. I don't think he knows how to get the deal done. He doesn't have the smarts. He cannot sell Tottenham Hotspur. All he can sell is the Premier League. What he can't do is sell Tottenham Hotspur to players, and that's been evident in our pursuit of Tel and Kolo Muani. But you also look at the window. We're scrounging around here in the last minute, like Jonny said, looking for opportunity deals. We were told in the build-up to this window, it's proper planning going ahead. We know our targets. And it's clear that this window has gone wrong. For one reason or another, we have not been able to get our targets over the line, and now we're searching for opportunities. And it's an absolute shambles, and it sums Tottenham Hotspur up. And to be honest, I don't want to hear any excuses for Johan Lang. I already started seeing it coming out after Leicester game. Little bit dropped, it's Daniel Levy making Johan Lang's job difficult. I heard the same under Steve Hitchin, another failure in the role who couldn't do the job. But I never heard it under Don Fabio Paratici, because he knew how to get the job done. The money's there, the wages are there, but we can't get players in. And it simply comes down to how Johan Lang operates, because he snookers himself in negotiations and just the lack of know-how. That's why Aston Villa got rid of him, brought in Munchie for Sevilla, and that's why they're kicking up here, and that's why we're going back down here. This window is an absolute catastrophic failure, and it's such a shame, like Jonny said. After last night, you look at it, it was all about the kids yesterday. It was all about our academy last night. So then why are we still in the transfer market going around after prospects when we've got more than enough in our academy to come through and give opportunities to? We should be in for players that could come in and make an impact now and help kick us on and reignite the second half of our season. It's just been one big failure, this transfer window, an absolute massive failure on everyone's behalf at the football club. Postecoglou spoke in January about the need for outfield players, about the need for a forward player especially, or in December, sorry. He spoke about in his pre-match press conferences, and now he's still sitting here speaking about it with 3 days to go in the window. It's a disaster.
Can I just add to that what Dave was saying there? The difference is what Fabio had was experience on how to deal. What he did, he was very vocal. Johan Lang plays everything close to his chest. Fabio doesn't play it close to his chest. He tells everyone, I'm buying your striker. I'm buying your striker. I'm buying your striker. He puts deals in, bids in everywhere, and he plays everyone off against each other. Yeah. That's how he operates. That's how he operates, playing one off against the other. Okay. And it worked. It worked. This Johan Lang, creeping around, in the shadows, it's not worked at all. It's not worked at all. It's been an abject failure. I'm sorry, it really has. The summer window was a failure in my opinion. It didn't give us what we wanted. We've needed a left back and a left centre back now for 18 months.
Don't forget the goalkeeper. Don't forget the goalkeeper as well. We didn't get obviously in that time.
It's amateur hour, and as Dave said, and Dave and I have been talking about it for long enough. Why would you appoint a guy who's been demoted to run the kids? To run our academy. We had Gabonini there who was working under Fabio. He should have been given the job to work with Paratici while he serves his ban, which is up in July. I'll tell you what, most fans will be happy and pleading for him to come back. But the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up joining Conte at Napoli and working for a proper club that has ambition, that understands the transfer market and brings in proper talent. Which is something we don't understand.
All fair points there, we have to say. I mean, the only thing I would say is that we understand, obviously, Paratici is working for Spurs still on a consultancy basis. When, obviously, that ban does come to an end, I think, as you've pointed out, Jonny, it will be intriguing to see what he does decide to do, because I think, again, it's been very much cleared and mentioned the fact that you've seen Paratici pacing the walls down at the stadium on match days. I mean, look, like all of us, we're pacing at the moment with regards to this transfer window. Just finally on this point, in your all humble opinions, I'll come to you, Mitch, here first. How confident are you, Mitch, as we go into the final 72 hours of this January transfer window, Tottenham will get a striker over the line. How confident, Mitch, would you say you are we will get somebody? And are you confident that somebody will be good enough to try and do something for us in this next 6 months, given, of course, Solanke's absence from the team? And obviously, Richarlison, as we know, there's no guarantee we can keep Richie fit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been on these sort of Friday night shows for the basically the entirety of January, bar one, I think. And you've asked me every single time, how many signings do you think we're going to get in? Are you confident? And I've always said 2 or 3 signings at the very least. But we failed with our top 2 striker targets, and now with just a few days to go, I don't know anymore. I really don't know anymore, which is such a shame. Like I said earlier, we have to. I think we have to bring a forward player in. Otherwise, everything's just going to implode on itself. And Daniel Levy will be very, very aware of the noise around the club at the moment. The mainstream media are starting to pick on him a little bit. The voices from the fans are getting louder. Protests are starting to happen. Banners are getting inside the stadium. So Daniel Levy knows he is under increased pressure to deliver something. And it's whether he folds and actually does that. This may be me living in fairyland, right, Ricky? But if you're going to put 50, 60 million pound down on the table for Mathys Tel from Bayern Munich, go and put that money down on someone like Matheus Cunha from Wolves, or whether it be Brian Mbeumo for Brentford, or dip in for Wissa if that's the type of forward that you want. These are 3 Premier League established players. I think 1 or 2 of them are attainable. I'm not necessarily sure Mbeumo is attainable in the January market, just because of how valuable he is to Brentford and what they're doing this season. But I think Cunha in particular has made it very clear that he doesn't really want to be at Wolves anymore. The noise around him has died down over the last week, and I love him. I think he's a brilliant player. So the cards are on the table now. We know that the money is there, and we've known that for months anyway, haven't we? We talked about it in the summer. The reports have been there in a constant flow of how much money we could spend. I think there was a report the other day that said we could spend 180 million pounds and still not be in breach of the PSR rules. So the money's there, which is obvious to everyone. And what should be obvious to everyone that runs the club is we are so desperate for players. But clearly the message isn't getting through because we've had the whole month. Nothing has happened. And I know they like to shop in the window late on in January, but I really now don't think there's any guarantee that we bring anything significant. I think I'm starting to think the very best we get is a loan signing until the end of the season. And it may be someone just completely underwhelming, because we're now in panic territory, right? Aren't we? We are now in panic territory of signing players because there's so little time left, and you have to sort out the medicals, and you have to sort out the contracts and the dealings with the clubs. And that's not something that just, you click your fingers and happens, especially with Tottenham. So yeah, I'd like to think we'd still bring someone in, Ricky, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced anymore. And if we didn't, and we got to the end of the window on Monday night and we hadn't, I'd sit there and go, well, what can we expect these days?
Can I just hold this point for Dave in there? We're very lucky to have a loyal audience that are commenting throughout this show. But the problem is I've got to a point where I'm not sure if the audience are winding me up, if they're being genuinely serious. There's reports in the comments here, which I think are false. They're just trying to wind us up, that breaking news on Sky, Danny Ings has said yes to Tottenham. And I'm almost at a point where I'm thinking, is he really? Because I just think in these next 72 hours, what are the options we're going to get? I mean, look, it has been undeniably, coming over to you, Dave, an absolute pure negligent failure from the board so far this January transfer window. I've made the point on the defender aspect alone. Mickey van der Ven, Christian Romero, they went down to December the 8th. Ben Davies followed 3 days later. We've had adequate time to prepare. For me, there's absolutely zero excuses that Tottenham haven't moved this window for not let alone a defender, a forward where Ange Postecoglou, I keep making this point, has been crying out, has been said Spurs are playing with fire, has been made it very, very clear there's work going on behind the scenes. The crazy thing about it all, and Jonny actually said this, I think, in his opening line, Johan Lang, we understand from Ange, so they were planning this window a couple of months in advance, we were told. And here we are, 31st of January. second striker that reportedly is on the top target list that has rejected Tottenham. We are aware again of registration issues around obviously what Spurs can and can't do. That is not our problem. That is for the club to sort those issues out. People are paid very, very highly at Tottenham to sort the issues out behind the scenes. It's nothing to do with us. You do what you've got to do. You've got Timo Werner sitting there that isn't playing at the moment. You've got Wilson Odebear that's currently injured. If you want a player, you will find a way to make it work around the registration situation to give Tottenham the best opportunity in his second half of the season to try and succeed. I mean, I'll come back to you, Dave, and ask you, how confident are you will get a competent striker in between now and the end of the window? Because your face tells me you're not convinced at all.
Look, I'm not convinced one bit. I was dreading this January transfer window. I do not believe in Johan Lang. He's had 3 windows and they've all been failures. We were in a similar position last January, by the way. Son was out at the Asian Games. Sarah and Basuma were gone to AFCON. We had a load of injuries. We needed help. All he brought in was Radu Dragosin and Timo Werner. Nowhere near good enough to make the initial impact we needed on to kick on the second half of the season. Again, he had 3 months to operate, if not longer, in the summer transfer window and couldn't get the deals done. So what makes me think in a notoriously difficult market with only 1 month that this guy is going to have the nous to be able to get these deals over the line? I just don't believe it. And to be honest with you, I would expect to maybe see a lone player come in, think of a Werner Danjuma type, that we're used to seeing, and potentially maybe a deal done for Diblin, but with him going back to Southampton for the second half of the season, and he arrives on the summer. And to be honest with you, we'd probably be shut up shop by 3 o'clock on deadline day, shutting off all the lights, saving money on the energy bills, disguising it as we're saving the planet, we're doing something good for the planet. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's what I've been accustomed to. We were in a similar position a couple of years back under Paratici when we brought in Conte. He came in to replace Nuno. He delivered Bentancur and Kulusevski deadline day, and look at the impact they went on to make for the second half of the season. That's what we need this January. Does Johan Lang have the ability to deliver that? No, he does not. So I just do not believe that we'll get anybody in. And to be honest with you, I think we're at the point, right, where we're almost being conditioned. Anybody will do. As long as he's an able body, get him in here, run the legs off him, he will do. But I don't want to get suckered into that situation. That's where we got suckered in before, where we had 10 players, 11, 12 players out on loan because we were getting ourselves into them situations. We can't afford to do that. And to be honest with you, if we can't get the right caliber of player in here, I'd rather hold off than just bring in anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important the point you make there, Dave. I mean, this is the first time I'm going to mention his name. And look, when we are going to move on, Mathys Tel, Jonny, come over to finish off on him. I think what we understand from Bridgie, friend of the show, Michael Bridge on Sky, one of the reasons why I did like Mathys Tel is apparently the kid's got a really good temperament. He would have really fit into the environment. And I know the facts out there that he's only played, I think, around 200 minutes. He's had limited time for Bayern. But there was a player there that would have wanted to play football, would have come in. And from what we understand, is a really good kid, would have knuckled down and would have played. And I think, again, we have said in the past that if you give players enough money, if you throw enough at them, they'll want to come. The reality is that where Spurs find themselves now, it goes back to the point Mitch made at the very, very start, it is not always attractive to try and get a player here, to try and get them into where we are right now, being 15th in the Premier League. Yes, there's a couple opportunities, but there's an opportunity to play at a better standard, around better players, dare I say, around a better manager. So it's really tough. I mean, how confident are you, Jay, in your mind? I'm probably asking the wrong person this, trying to get some confidence from you. How confident are you that we are going to find a forward in these next few days that is going to drastically improve Tottenham going into the second half of the season?
I just don't understand their talent idea at all. We don't need more young kids. We don't need another 19-year-old. We don't need to spend £50 million on a 19-year-old. What Mitch said before, what we need is to go and spend 60 million or 65 million and get Matheus Cunha, who's a player now. He's exactly what we need. He can play on the left. He can play on the right. He can play through the middle. In fact, most people think he's a centre forward. It's the only position he's played this season. He's played 5 positions this season. He's the only one he's played where he hasn't scored a goal. That's the talent ID. If you've got ambition, you go after players. There's no bedding in process with someone like Matheus Cunha, right? He's a magician. He's a creative. He scores goals. He can make something out of nothing. That's what you need. That's what when I used to go and watch Spurs as a kid, that's what you used to see. A player that can make something out of nothing. a moment of magic, and that's what he offers. But this Mathys Tel, I'm not saying he's not going to go on and be a fantastic player, but it's not what we need now. This is opportunist. This kid was never leaving Bayern Munich until the opportunity.
I think he stated also he wanted to be a legend there one day. So you're right. I mean, his eyes have been firmly on Bayern Munich in general, 100%.
Correct. And then, them being linked with Nkunku from Chelsea has turned his head, and his people say, right, it's time to go. And that's why it's come about. Where are the real targets? Who are they really targeting? Yeah. I mean, go on.
No, listen, I think on that point there, I think you go back to who are they targeting. I think what we will do, we're going to come on to who they're targeting. I'm going to come back to Jonny. We're going to go quickly for our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. So that comprehensive news there for those that are coming in that have heard it late or are halfway through the show. Mathys Tel to Tottenham firmly off. He will not be a Tottenham Hotspur player. Spurs are now understood to be considering other forward options in this January transfer window with days of it to go. We'll update you on that if there's more. Before we go back around to Jonny in terms of Spurs' search for a centre-half, which does appear to be making progress, touch wood, that can always change. We want to bring to your attention that Change for Tottenham have issued in this last 24 hours initial protest details ahead of the game against Manchester United at home, Sunday, the 16th of February. The March time for that will be 2:45. That will be the crossroads of Lordship Lane, High Road, marching to the West Stand. There'll be more details of this to come in the coming days. We are just bringing this to you to, as a platform here on Last Word on Spurs, alert you that there is going to be a protest in due course with regards to, and so I think we all have come to that point now for many people that listen and watch the show looking for change for the football club, change for the better. I think when you see the club operating the way we are in this transfer window, I think for some, if that is not the final straw, I'm not sure what is, because it does feel at the moment it's just pure, utter negligence how we've come to this point, and the lack of backing a manager, the lack of understanding in terms of getting deals done, to go out to Germany as the technical director and the chairman and not come back with a player. I mean, that's just purely ridiculous. And for it to come out in such a public nature where the player rejects you directly to your face, man, what has happened to Tottenham Hotspur? Look, we're going to bring over that news where we are right now on what we're led to believe, one, that Spurs are closing in on. And as I say that, I just know, I hope I'm not going to put the knockers on it. I'm going to go back round to you, Jay, if I can. We do understand Tottenham are closing in on a deal for Tomori, which we are understanding wouldn't reach the 30 million euro mark, including bonuses. I wonder why they're interested. In a player that, Spurs defensive-wise, you may argue are preparing for the future, with maybe Christian Romero likely to depart the club in the summer. Hasn't had a huge amount of game time at AC Milan. A player I think you mentioned, Jonny, before the window opened, you'd like to see Spurs maybe move for him. It does appear Tottenham are closing in on their man. I can just say we have got over 7,000 of you watching the show live. Keep liking, keep subscribing. Take this out to a wide-range Spurs audience. Jay, give me your thoughts for you. How impressed would you be if Tottenham do get Tomori over the line?
Listen, I've got to state the reason why I gave Tomori as a player that we should be looking at is because I realise where we are with our ambition. If I was putting it out there for my number one, it would be someone like Hincapié, on another level, a proper left back. But when I look at the market where we're in, and our ambition, for me, Tomori fits the bill. Price-wise, he's around £30 million. He's got a lot of experience, which is something we desperately need. He's got 119 games for AC Milan, 31 games in the Champions League. Right back, right centre back. He's quick, he's fast, he's robust. He is an asset. I'm not going to come in here and tell you he's an absolute well beater, but I'm going to tell you he will add to what we've got right now, and I'll be happy with him. And listen, look, he's already won a trophy. He got a nice assist on Wednesday for AC Milan in the Champions League. Look, he has experience. I feel quite often our game management at Spurs is absolutely horrendous. And I just think, whatever you may think of Tomori, you don't survive playing 120 games in Serie A in Italy if you don't know what you're doing. And, obviously he's, come through from Chelsea as well. Listen, they paid about 35 million euros for him. So I think, it's fair value. And Daniel will love that, obviously. The question is, do you want to swap Champions League for 15th and Europa League? That's the question. Maybe he wants to move back to London. I'm not sure. Yeah. But look, our ambition to win, to be winners, to be challengers shouldn't start with Tomori, even though I think he's a good player. And even though I think, he's going to add to our team. And this, unfortunately, is where our club lies at this moment. But I will be happy for him. I'm not going to be negative on it. I'm saying to you, if people are wondering why I'm happy that we're signing him, it's because we need him.
Yep.
But we should be aiming higher.
It's interesting. I mean, Mitch, come over to you. We understand Spurs and AC Milan are in direct negotiations. He's among 3 centre-back options as the club are still discussing both the formula and the fee. Negotiations are ongoing with Tomori along with personal terms. Is he filling a massive hole in that squad if we bring him in, Mitch, for you, Tomori? Would you be happy with his signature as a defender? Again, you maybe have feelings that, again, we've got this issue with Dragishin at the moment. You've got Romero's too firmly up in the air. It doesn't look like he will probably be here in the summer. Do you see him as a direct like-for-like replacement for Romero? I mean, is it hard to describe that at this point? What's your takeaways for you, Mitch, in terms of Tomori coming in?
Yeah, it's very difficult to sort of compare him to Romero just because we know how good Romero can be. But I'm with Jonny on this. I think it would be a good signing. I think it's one that we definitely need. And I'm along the same sorts of lines. I've been impressed with him. I do think the main motivation and factor in a potential deal for Tomori is the fact that he'd quite like to move back to England. I think his career has always been one that has perhaps been overshadowed by whoever's in charge of England, particularly Gareth Southgate. And it's a really, really weird one because obviously Jordan Henderson went out to Ajax and was still picked for a while for the England squad. But Tomori, I don't ever really feel like it's had that fair look in. And there was a period a year or two ago where people were absolutely baffled as to why he wasn't playing for England. So, yeah, there's a lot of people turning their nose up at him, which, confuses me a little bit. I think regardless of the Dragishin situation, because I know Ange mentioned in his press conference today that, if the Dragishin injury is serious, then yes, we'll be looking at centre-backs. I think we need one regardless. Absolutely. So I guess the positive that we can take from that is the fact that he's among 3 options to bring a centre-back in, which does, I guess, give off the kind of vibe that they are planning on signing someone. But if you go back to the point Dave made earlier, you don't want to just sign anyone. You want to sign the right fit, don't you? But I do think Tomori would be a good fit for Tottenham. He's quick. I've sort of scoured through the comments of some of these reports to see what AC Milan fans are saying, and I think their main problem with him is he doesn't necessarily always look comfortable on the ball, which is perhaps a hiccup in the way that Ange Postecoglou does play football, but maybe he's looking more towards the side of, you think, recovery runs, playing him next to Van der Ven, perhaps if Romero were to not be available or he does leave in the summer. I've spoken to a few Chelsea fans as well who were quite sad to see him go when he did leave them to go over to Italy. So yeah, I'd be happy with it. Hopefully he wants to join us, because again, that looks like a potential stumbling block. The reports in the last hour or so are saying he's not given the green light yet.
No, that's right.
We talked on the show about the fact that negotiations will continue perhaps after the Milan derby, which is on Sunday.
Yes,
you're kind of incredibly tight then. So we have to get something done, and we have to get something done very, very quickly. And it makes me very nervous to think that could drag on into deadline day, because there's absolutely no guarantee there. But overall, yes, I would be happy to see him come in.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just going to say, he's probably waiting for an offer from Southampton.
Yeah.
Don't do that to us, Jonny, for God's sake. Dave, we'll bring you back in on Tomori. Again, I think to back up what Mitch is saying there is a lot of conflicting feelings out there from Spurs fans, and actually Italian fans, of what they've made of Tomori's time over there. The general vibe from Italy, this is from Get Italian Football News, is that Tomori has been generally average at best for Milan over the last couple of seasons. The fact they could earn anything over 20 million from his sale will be considered excellent business, given they've got moves for Jimenez, Lorenzo and Luca currently as things stand. But look, there's no doubt about it. Tottenham do need a centre-half, and you do get to a point where when you are at this stage in the transfer window where, as we know, you're no longer really holding any kind of leverage here, Dave. You're really up against it. You're fighting against time. And although Spurs have got 2 or 3 other players lined up, it says a lot where we are right now that the player, as things stands, is refusing to give Tottenham the green light. Does that pretty much sum up where we are, that the players that we're going for just can't commit to Tottenham right now, which is showing really, in the past, everyone talks about, the pull of Ange or the pull of Levy or the pull of the recruitment director. It kind of shows Tottenham behind the scenes of how chaotic it is, where no one's really got a general pull anymore when it comes to trying to get people to this football club. Your thoughts on Tomori overall and whether you feel he would be a help to the squad and would be some form of an upgrade in there for you?
Yeah, just quickly on Tomori. Look, I like Tomori. I think, he's the sort of profile we need. He'll come in here. He's fast. He's strong. He'll help you play the high line. I don't think he's as bad on the ball as people make him out to be. I think he's a good player in general. And look, we have to get this deal done. Make no mistake about it. We don't know how long Radu Dragic is out injured for now. Romero looks like he's going to be a lot longer than what I expected, considering Postecoglou's words on him today that they have to take their time with him. So you're left with Van de Ven, and he's prone to breaking down since we signed him. So we need to get another centre-half in the door, or we will be up a creek without a paddle very, very quickly, again, across the back line. So for me, I'd have no problem getting in. But in terms of pulling power, look, everyone wanted to come and play with Kane and Son. Absolutely everybody. Why wouldn't they? Why they're there? You always have a chance or a hope of doing something special. If you're looking at Tottenham now, without Harry Kane, with a Son that, hasn't been performing to the usual levels, and that's because he doesn't have someone like Kane to work off. Then you also look at that you don't know the situation around the manager and the fact that Tottenham don't win trophies. And, I think Jonny said he's only after recently winning the trophy.
I can also just say on that point as well, Dave, I've got to ask you as well. Terry O'Shea says here, Terry, a recent viewer listener, do you think we're going for Tomori because they still owe money on Emerson Royale, like we went for Tel because they owe money on Kane? I mean, what's your take on that, Dave? Is that a possibility?
I mean, I wouldn't write it off. We know how Daniel Levy likes to operate. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. I wouldn't write that off. But we have no pulling power. And then on top of that, when they have to scrap for their weekly wage, bonuses, etc., at what point do you just turn around and go, look, it's too much hassle to even negotiate a deal there. I'll just go somewhere else. They'll give me exactly what I want. And that's what other clubs are doing to Tottenham. They'll come in, we're interested. What do you want? Let's get this done quickly. Whereas we're constantly trying to save a buck on absolutely everything, which prolongs everything, which means you're opening the door for other people to come and swoop in. And I think, it's getting around now where, agents, players, they don't really want to touch Tottenham Hotspur because it's so hard to get what they want coming here.
24 years of shortchanging, being rejected. You would think by now that he would think about going and paying the money, pay the wage, wake up, smell the coffee. It's the same thing. It's eat, sleep, repeat. Go to the thing. We've been rejected by another kid. Our offer was derisory, rejected by Mawani, rejected by Tel. Okay, and there'll be others that we don't even know about that we've been rejected on, which is why we're jumping on these opportunities, because none of these two were planned opportunities. These are just planned.
Jonny, it's highly embarrassing as the chairman of the football club to fly out to Germany with your technical director and not bring back the player and not get the signature done. I think that's highly embarrassing of where we are in this transfer window, day 31, when you commit to going over to another country to go and sign the player and you don't get it done. That is highly embarrassing and publicly played so publicly played out. It honestly is negligence. It honestly is crazy to be in the situation that we're in. And the problem to back up your point there, Jonny, is I agree with you. Whatever anyone thinks of Tel, whether you want him or whether you don't, what Tottenham do need right now, given our league position, and it's actually what David said as well, and Mitch has touched on it, we need experience. We need players that have been there, done it, have got a know-how about trying to get results in the situation we're in. That's not to say that if Tel came, I wouldn't have wanted him, but I think where we are right now, what I would like to see, which I don't think we are going to see in his final few days of the transfer window, is just some logic being applied to who we are going for. But the problem is now, we're at a point where, Mitch, coming over to you, it does feel like scattergun, because the problem we've got now is that if you've got players that are not willing to give you a green light, you have to seek for alternatives. And that means you are going further and further down the list of B, C, D, E, F. I mean, how long does that list go down, Mitch, where you think to yourself, are these players actually going to have more of a detrimental effect than a positive one on the squad? Would that be also your concern, Mitch, as we go into these final days of the window, of the temperament of player that we're looking for now?
Do you know what, Ricky? I actually think there are probably a lot of decent options out there, but I think there's probably a budget and there's probably a limit for what we're willing to pay for certain players, particularly in January, because the argument will be that prices are overflated, but there's talent. There is talent out there. And the thing is, I can rattle a few names off on a list of players that wouldn't even cost that much that you could go out and get. Obviously, Jonny, I think Johnny's a big fan of him. Jonathan David has been mentioned before. Ryan Cherky from Lyon as well apparently wants out of there. And, he's been excellent over the last couple of weeks for them. These are players that would probably be available for around the £20 million mark. There's two there straight away, but it just always seems like opportunities. And you made a really, really good point, sorry, I can't remember his name, but whoever it was in the comments made a very, very good point about the Tomori deal and the fact that AC Milan may still owe us a little bit of Emerson Royale's fee, and whether it all just kind of links together in a circle, doesn't it? So it's so frustrating as a fan. And when you've had in the past the chairman come out and publicly defend himself and say, you don't know what it's like behind the scenes and how hard I work for the club and all of that sort of stuff. But yet you're the highest paid director in the league, or the bonus you give yourself at the end of every year, the millions of pounds you get. Like, we're now in the territory where we're expecting the bare minimum for this football club right now because of the situation we are in. And this is a situation we've been put in because we didn't strengthen properly and in all of the areas we needed to in the summer. We've had the opportunity to do it again in January and we still haven't done it. So my question then is, what do we expect from these last few months of the season when we've got such huge games coming up? The Europa League, the chance to go on a magnificent journey all the way to Bilbao. Man United are on the other side of the draw, so you don't face them potentially until the final. You'd probably back us at full strength. Well, maybe not everyone would at this stage, but, you'd fancy yourselves over two legs against most of the teams in that competition still. There's a reason why Tottenham were the favourites to win the Europa League at the start of the season. But if you're not going to help the manager and you're not going to help the squad, how can you possibly expect to then challenge for these honours? And then, the plan is, according to reports, to have an end-of-season review with Ange Postecoglou to see how things have gone. How can you expect to go to Anfield and get any sort of result and stop Liverpool turning us over to get to the final of the Carabao Cup? Can you expect to go to Villa Park and get a result against them in the FA Cup to move forward in that competition? It's all linked together. And we can see it as fans, as people that just love the football club and want to see us do so well. We can see it. It doesn't take anyone relatively clever to see that. So it's so frustrating. It really is. I feel like it's being a bit negative, but I just
Mitch, it's very hard when you're looking at the window, you're looking at the overall aspect of Tottenham's business during this January transfer window. How can you be anything other than what it is? I don't think it's negative. I just think it's realism of where we are, that we are day 31 of a transfer window and we have not signed a single outfield player, despite calls from the manager. Whatever you think about Ange Postecoglou, whether you like him, whether you don't like him, whether you think he's the right man, whether you think he's the wrong man, whether he's the long-term or he's the short-term option, when a manager of your football club has said publicly on numerous occasions, you are playing with fire. We are playing with fire. Dominic Solanke needs help. You then lose Dominic Solanke, and you keep on making that point. We as a football club are putting these players through the ringer. You've had Heung-Min Son come out. You've had Dejan Kulusevski come out. You've had Christian Romero come out with regards to the failings of bald level. What more does it take? What more does it take when it comes to trying to get the penny to drop? This is simply unacceptable. Dave, please.
A new owner.
I think we've come to the realization that the owners are only in it for their self-gain. Look, you look at the top. You look at the situation, right? They built everything that they have now: the boxing, the concerts, the F1, everything else, off the back of football fans. And now what we're seeing now is we've had three markets now, for instance, under Postecoglou, last January, this summer, and this January, where he's needed help. We have shown more ambition in bringing the biggest music names here. Your Beyonces, etc. We've showed more
Rolling
ambition in
Stones.
bringing Rolling Stones. We've showed more ambition in bringing the biggest boxing fights to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You know, when it comes to business and what can be done with the stadium, we've built an F1 track underneath. We've built a skywalk off the, abseiling off the side of the stadium, etc. We've pushed the boundaries there. We've been the example to other people, showing ambition in terms of what can be done. But when it comes to this football team, we show zero ambition in terms of going after really good players or the best players to come in here. And what you're seeing now is they're looking to improve all the business sides of the teams, looking to be the best and first in class in that, but never, ever, ever on the football pitch. They have completely lost all interest in the football side of things. Look, maybe there was at one point where they said, look, I'd love to own a football club, and maybe the football inside at one point was a thing of interest. But when you're dangling to trained accountants, to guys that are in it for money, the amount of potential you can make off a football club now, they've completely scrapped off the football inside and been blindsided by that. And we're the ones paying the price. People that go week in, week out, people that follow the country, up and down the country, all across Europe, out to Australia on pre-season tour, out to Korea on tours, fans that sit there for every single game, give up birthday parties, etc., all that sort of stuff, to sit there and watch this great football club. And all they're doing is raking it in and showing no ambition on the football side. And we're the ones paying the price. We're the only ones upset about this. Pan to him the other day, he doesn't care. He'll sit there, he'll put on emotions, but he doesn't care. He'll go home and he'll just get on the phone. How much more can we make? What else can we add? You look at Disneyland, they've got roller coasters. Can we get one of them off the back of the North Stand? You know what I mean? It's becoming a joke.
I think on that point, it's crazy that you think about it. We've done more concerts than we have. Oh, I say concerts. We got the boxing over the line with, of course, Eubank Ben. They've done Rolling Stones. We've had more deals done off the pitch, and we have done it on it. It is honestly absolutely crazy. Crazy.
Absolutely everything else, bar football players, which is what millions of Spurs fans are in it for. We couldn't care. And do you know what the sad thing is, Ricky? Tottenham Hotspur could be a shining example to absolutely everybody in terms of how you can run a football club, make all these extra revenue streams to help fund the football club and be successful. We're in an ideal position where we can have the perfect world. Under Pochettino, Tottenham was everyone's case study in terms of great football, and great business in terms of Daniel Levy. And now all of a sudden we are a laughingstock, and it's only took 4 years to change that.
Yeah. It's a shame we can't get in. Shame we can't get in Mick Jagger, right? Just sing our signature tune to every Spurs fan. I can't get no satisfaction, and that's us. That's Spurs fans. We can't get any satisfaction from being with this club under this ownership. It's a sad state of affairs. We've spoken about so many things, whether it be statues, whether it be museums, whether it be transfer window. It's not one thing, guys. It's a multitude of things that's demoralizing us. What we have is a fantastic fan base, a loyal fan base that is divided. That's divided at the moment, and it's not the fans themselves, I think, that are divided themselves. I think it's the ownership and how they've conducted themselves has divided. I mean, we don't ever see them communicate. Whatever I think of Ange, they throw Ange out into the fire pit every week. We don't hear from the club. We don't hear from Levy. Scott Munn might as well be the invisible man for all we know.
Also, Jay, to come back on that point, Paratici was so vocal, wasn't he, at Juve? You heard him pretty much nearly every other week. He comes to Tottenham, and before the bag, let's be very clear, you barely hear from Paratici apart from the window wrap-up. And to be fair, even that was very brief.
Couldn't get him off the bench. I mean, he was on the bench with Conte. Do you know what I mean? You could see the passion. You could feel the passion. He used to speak to the fans. It is all now very aloof. He falls in line, Johan Lange, with Munn and Levy, this aloof sect, that cut off from the rest of the fan base. It's very, very sad. And there isn't long left of the window, and we don't want Dan Juma Mark II. Whatever it is, I'd rather sign nobody than have another window like that.
Joe, I do agree with you, Joe. I'd rather sign nobody if it means bringing in players like that. But they're going to have to, in this next 48 hours, find a way of supporting the manager. You've got to. It will look honestly utterly embarrassing if whatever you think about Ange Postecoglou, right, whether if they end up in the next week or two or at the end of the season departing with Postecoglou and they did not give him a January transfer window in terms of players, I think whatever you think, whether you liked Ange, whether you didn't like Ange Postecoglou, I think like a lot of managers at Tottenham, he can find himself feeling very hard done by, that he was not supported like a lot of Spurs managers went before him by not getting his players. One final element I need to bring to you before I do, we do understand if Tottenham are going to proceed with a deal for Tomori, that a fee is in line of 23 million plus bonuses to reach a total of 25 million euros. As things stands, we are still waiting on the player to give Tottenham the green light, which a bit is summary where Tottenham are. They've been waiting for the green light really all window for the chairman, for the technical director to get deals done. And now we're in a situation where we're waiting for the players. One other player that I can tell you at the moment is not going to be a Tottenham player is Valencia forward David Otorbi. We understand Spurs did put in a bid for the player. Now, again, at the moment, these are pretty much early stages when it comes to the situation around Otorbi. But we understand an offer was made of 4 million euros to Valencia for the 17-year-old. It was rejected because they wanted a minimum of 5 million and a percentage of a future sale. Villa, we understand, are preparing an offensive move for Otorbi for the last days of this transfer window. It says it all that Villa are in the race for Otorbi and are also in the race for Tel, which shows you the trajectory of both the football clubs right now as they try and do their business. We can tell you in this last few minutes that Tottenham and AC Milan have now reached an agreement in principle for Tomori for a fee of 25 million euros. However, this is still awaiting the player's decision to say yes to Tottenham. So just to confirm, before we go for our final break of this show, Tottenham and AC Milan have now reached a verbal agreement for the signing of Fikayo Tomori for a fee of 25 million euros, according to Damasio. But we are now awaiting the player's decision to say yes to Tottenham. Right, we are going to go for our final break of the show. We have got over nearly 10,000 of you that are watching the show live. Thanks so much, as always, for your support for the show. I'm joined by the wonderful Jonny Hamme. You can check him out on his Insta at Talking Tottenham 1882. You can check him out on X, Jonny H3232. Bringing you all different Tottenham content. He's got a Football Link as well channel that he runs with Shawnee, who we're looking to see back very soon in the Spurs hub. We miss you, Shawnee, very much. We love you very much. We're joined by a brilliant Mitch Fretton, Mitch_Fretton on X. You can find him on YouTube breaking down, not literally. He might do in due course. all things Tottenham. I can't promise he won't break down because it's been a tough January so far. See what else is coming in the next few days. Quite possible. And we're joined by the wonderful Dave over at the Irish Hotspur, your go-to co-man for all match day coverage, all things around Tottenham. Please go and check out Dave over at the Irish Hotspur. But yeah, just to, like I say, conclude where we are, Tel has said no. Spurs have reached a verbal agreement on Tomori. We await the player's decision. Dibbling is one to keep an eye on between now and the end of the window. And we do expect Will Lancashire to depart the club on loan before the end of this transfer window. Please, guys, keep hitting like and subscribing. Share this out to a massive worldwide Spurs audience. We appreciate you for that. We're going to look ahead very quickly to Brentford to come. For our listeners and audio, you heard there from Billy the Bee at Besotted, who gave us his thoughts with regards to where we are with Brentford to come on Sunday. It's a massive game for Tottenham in the Premier League, in which for Spurs, listen, whatever you think about how big this week is in terms of the Cups, Tottenham have to pick up Premier League points. We are at risk of suffering 5 consecutive defeats in the Premier League for the first time in over 20 years as we make that short trek to the G-Tech Community Stadium to meet Brentford on Sunday. Look, it has been very tough in terms of our league form. You know, we take at the moment an unrivaled 26 points from the first 30 games in charge. And, you know, when Andrew did that at the first 10 games of the season, we were in absolute dreamland. The crazy thing is we've never got back there since those points, even at this second point of the season, which is quite simply remarkable. We are going into this game against Brentford as things stands. We're 8 points clear of the drop zone and a staggering 17 points adrift of the top 4. You know, in terms of our recent run, we could become the first Spurs team since Osvaldo Ardiles, can I say, in 1994 to lose 5 straight games in all Premier League competition. So Spurs need to respond. They need to respond fast. To be fair to Ange and his presser before this game, he's made it very, very clear that we do need to pick up Premier League points and fast. Just to join, again, that injury list of where Spurs are right now, Dragashin unfortunately is added to that list, along with Brennan Johnson, James Maddison, Wilson Odobert, Vicario, Werner, Solanke, Udogie, Romero. Oh, we have got Mickey van der Ven, of course, back, who seems to be okay and should hopefully feature. Ben Davis, Jed Spence, Reguilon are all expected to return to the squad after being ineligible, those latter two, Spence and Reguilon, from being able to play. From Thomas Frank's perspective, they're expected to have the all clear on Michael Coyote. And I believe they're also hoping that Mads Rosslev will also be able to play after his loan move from Wolfsburg as well. So I think, like I say, it's going to be an interesting clash at Brentford. I think, look, when you look at our last few results there, we're yet to win at the G-Tech. It's always a tough game. Dave, I come over to you to start this. Brentford away, how do you feel going into it? You know, our form on the road hasn't been great in the Premier League, to put it politely. It's 1 win in 11 in the Premier League. How do you feel about Brentford? Can we get a result there?
Do you know what? We can always get a result on our day. I think that's the one good thing about Tottenham Hotspur. On our day, we can go and beat anybody. But this is going to be a tough game. They set up, they look to block the middle, ask questions of Tottenham out wide. Do we have them answers? Not quite so sure. And they're all on bonuses, 4 set pieces there at Brentford. So, you know, they're like Arsenal to a degree, very good on set pieces. And that's our kryptonite to a large degree. So, it's not going to be an easy game. We are going to have to, it's going to be a hard-fought win. But the big question I'll probably have for everybody here, actually, is I might throw it out there, is what sort of squad are we team are we expecting them to see? Because we've got Liverpool midweek, our biggest game of the season in the Carabao Cup. You know, does he go with a full-strength squad here? Does he not? Does he play Mickey van der Ven? Does he hold him back and make sure he's ready for Liverpool? It's hard to know, really, what to expect here. Look, I think the best we could probably hope for is a point here at the G-Tech Stadium. Like you said, we haven't won there since they've come up. It's not going to be easy, but I think a point would I think is probably what we'll get.
Dave, on that point, you mentioned it very quick. I've got to ask you, what would you do if you were the manager with that Liverpool game on Thursday? What would you do in terms of the squad?
Do you know what? I'll probably do a bit of what he done last night against Salzburg, actually, where you play Son one half, Kulu the other half to keep that attacking threat. Play Bentancur for 45 minutes, play Van der Ven for 45 minutes, and just try and strike a good balance between a decent first half 11 and a second half 11. That way, most people will probably play 45 minutes. I think that would probably be a good, balance heading into that Liverpool game, I think.
And you're going to go with prediction, Dave? You said, did you say a draw? Did you say for this a potential draw?
Yeah, I think we'll get a draw, Ricky. I just don't see us winning. I don't think we've got enough to really. Going forward, we're not in great confidence either. You know, shown yesterday against Salzburg with the young lads coming off the bench, saving the day. So for me, I struggle to see where we're going to break them down. I think we might nick a 1-1. A draw for me. I don't see us winning this one, unfortunately.
And we'll come around to the kind of consequences of that if it is a draw. Mitch, I'll come to you for this. Mitch, what do you feel for you when you're looking at Brentford as a whole? It's never an easy place to go, is it, the G-Tech? You know, I think when you look at their overall record at home, although it hasn't been their greatest of seasons, I think Brentford is always a frustrating place to go because they never... I don't think you ever have an easy game there. You know, it's always a real challenge. I will just say, I think a lot of the viewers are making their points of this show here that Damsgaard is one that I think you've got to watch for Brentford. He's a really fine player. A Dane, of course, like Thomas Frank, who has got real trust, real belief in what he can bring. How do you feel going into this one, Mitch? And again, it is going into a week where we've got that crucial second against Liverpool at Anfield. Would you be slightly looking at maybe flexing this kind of squad, or do you think, given our Premier League form as I read out there, we've got to get results, Mitch? We've got to climb that table. We're looking more behind us than we are in front of us right now, Mitch.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that stance, to be honest, Ricky. I think it's very, very risky for Ange to rest some of our best players in the Premier League at the moment, just because of the run of form we're on, the fact that Ipswich have got Southampton at home this weekend. So all of a sudden, I think if they win that, they move out of the relegation zone and within 6 points of us or something like that.
Obviously, Everton can also go above us. Obviously, Mitch, if they get their result against Leicester, Everton will go above us. Yep.
Yeah, so that's my point exactly there. I think, like he said in his press conference last week, you're absolutely playing with fire if you start rotating in the Premier League. It's although you could maybe effectively write off the Premier League season already at the end of January and start of February, I find it very, very difficult to imagine us recovering and getting anywhere near those European places now. Regardless of that, I think it's more about confidence and momentum that you need to try and swing things around. Because if you go into that Liverpool game with another loss, it's just straight back down to earth, isn't it? Because it's so easy to forget, but yesterday night was such a wonderful night for the football club in terms of the youth players and seeing them do so well and flourish. And do you know what? I thought actually playing well as a whole, as a team for most of the game, albeit I know Elfsborg had the lowest percentage of possession of any Europa League team this season on average. But I feel like we have to go strong and we have to start winning games and we have to sort of build some sort of confidence back up into this squad. I do see where Dave's coming from in his point, because Liverpool undoubtedly, I know we've said this a lot this season, but we're coming up to the biggest game of our season because it's a game before Wembley. We're 1-0 up in the tie, and a good 90 minutes against Liverpool at Anfield, and we find ourselves at Wembley, as daunting as that sounds. So I completely understand it, but for me, we have to go for it. But like you guys have mentioned, going to be an incredibly tough game, regardless of the sort of form Brentford are on. They've got some killers in their team, and Buemo, Witter at the top end of their pitch. Damsgaard, as you mentioned, some very, very good players. And as you mentioned, I don't think we've won at their place yet since it opened. They move into their new stadium. So yeah, going to be really tough. You know me, I'm always optimistic. I always think we can get something out of the game. My hope sort of dwindles more and more as each week passes at the moment in the Premier League. But I think I'd have to be aligned with Dave in this. I think a point. Would most of us take a point if we were offered a point this weekend? Would most of us take it? I'm not sure. Maybe it's a little bit of a split.
It does stop the rot. It stops the rot in terms of the league form, but at the same time, I just look at that. We need points, don't we, Mitch? It's a really tricky one. But yeah, listen, you're saying a point. You're saying 1-1. Mitch, what are you going to go for? Draw?
I think so. I'll go 2-2 because I think goals. I don't know. Maybe with Mickey back, we'll be a bit more composed and solid at the back. But I'll go 2-2. I reckon, with my prediction.
Mitch, thank you so much. Jay, we'll come around to you. I think you've never hidden away from the fact that Brentford isn't an easy place to go. I mean, Thomas Frank has got his admirers when it comes to the way he does play his brand of football. We know very much it is geared to get results. And let's be honest about it, Spurs have struggled to get results at Brentford in the past, given the way Frank has set up, the adoptive approach he uses. It's not pretty, but he does get the job done. It's coming, as you know, Jay, ahead of a massive week for the football club. I just wonder how much would a win be transformative in the effect that just gives everybody a massive shot in the arm going to Anfield, giving them a bit of confidence, because Brentford, as we've said, is not an easy place to win. We haven't won there yet. Could that be real decent motivation going to Liverpool? Or do you think, in a way, maybe sometimes the players were maybe one eye on these cup games? And let's be honest about it, Liverpool on Thursday is the biggest game in this club's season. How do we approach, in your mind, Sunday? And do we make any changes at all with that in mind?
It's such a hard one to call. Look, Thomas Frank is one of the most underrated managers tactically. He's got a small squad, and what he does is, I don't think people realise, is, last season he lost Tony, he lost Wissa, he lost Buemo to injury. So what does he do? He comes up with a new system to suit what he has at his disposal. It might take 3 or 4 games for them to get into the swing of it. So those games, they're poor results. But then they get into the swing of it and they start producing results. He's in the result business. They've been without Damsgaard for quite a while, and it showed. He's the man that pulls the strings. And I'll be honest with you, I think Angie's best bet is to maybe play a tiny little bit deeper than he normally plays, because I'm worried with Sade's pace, with Wissa's pace, and Bueno, with Potter on the flank, it's going to be hard for us. And I think our best bet is on the counter. And what's worrying me with Thomas Frank, so astute in his tactics, I'm wondering whether he knows that Mickey van der Ven, he will know Mickey van der Ven doesn't have really more than 45 minutes in him. So what do? You contain yourself, and then you bring on the guys who can influence and win the game in that second half. They got the Michael Cody hopes to be back. Ethan Pinnock looks like he's going to be back. He's been out since December. He's been a crucial member of their defence. I mean, half of their defence has been out this season. He just gets on with it, What does he do? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think he's got much choice in the back. I think the defence calls itself. Does he play Basuma? I think he has to play Basuma in the middle of the park. He has to play Basuma. He has to play Sarr. I think he has to try and win that midfield with Nordgaard, Damsgaard in there, because if these guys get on the ball, they're going to be slotting passes through. The amount of chances that we've been giving away to poor opposition, Hoffenheim. I mean, forget the pub team we played last night, but we've been giving a lot of chances away to Everton, to Hoffenheim. You cannot do that to, that forward line there.
I totally agree.
Absolutely cynical.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very hard. I think if we come away with a draw, that itself would be a fantastic boost going into the Liverpool game. And I'm with Mitch. I just don't think you can rest anyone. I mean, what happens if we get a real beating? How's that going to...
I do agree. It's a real conundrum. Jay, give us a prediction. What are you going to go for?
Right, one with a heart, 3-2 victory, but with a head, a 3-2 loss.
Okay, there's no rest and there's no let up, is there? There is no let up. Look,
they're just quality. There's no getting away from it. We've had the easy games, guys. Right? We've had the Ipswiches, we've had the Southamptons, we've had
the Leicesters.
We've had the walks in the park.
Yeah.
And, we played Leicester twice and we got a point. Come on.
I think I agree on that point. But I mean, it does feel, I think, back to your point there, Jay, it really does feel that the Brentford game itself is an opportunity to try and build some momentum going into this game. So, Jay, thank you so much. We're going to close on this point here. We understand as we bring this show to a close, don't all lose your minds when I say this, Tottenham, as things stand, have a verbal agreement in place with AC Milan for 25 million plus an additional 5. They are awaiting Tomori's decision. Don't go crazy when I say this, guys. We understand Tomori has asked for a few hours to reflect on that proposal from Tottenham.
Waiting for others to nip in and make an offer. Yeah.
As everybody just goes to...
Don't rush. The excitement he must be feeling right now to come from Milan and the San Siro.
This is the thing, though. He clearly isn't that... He's not that fussed about joining us then, is he, if he wants a few hours to reflect?
He wants a few hours to reflect. Can I have a few hours to reflect for the Brentford game? Can I have a few hours to reflect if I want to turn up or not?
I think the issue as well is there seems to be still this thing with Chelsea players, ex-Chelsea players coming.
Yeah, people haven't really picked up on that. It's a very interesting point you mentioned there, Jay. There wouldn't be, there isn't many players, is there, that have had a Chelsea pass that have come to Tottenham. You have to go all the way back to Neil Sullivan, Gallas. I mean, right there, Gallas, Cudicini. There's not many in there, so he would be joining quite a very short list of players to have played for Chelsea to come to Tottenham. And like I say, he wants a few hours to reflect. Who can blame him right now? I don't think you can. Look, as we close this show, Tel is off. Tomori wants a few hours. God, if only we could have a few hours to reflect and choose our decisions more. I don't know if we can. I want to say a massive thank you to the wonderful Mitch Fretton. Mitch, tell the public of 10,000 where they can find you. Mitch, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, Ricky. It's been a pleasure talking about how everybody hates Tottenham and no one wants to play for us. But no, I've really enjoyed the show. Shout out Jonny and Dave as well, as always, brilliant. But yeah, you can find me over on X or on YouTube. They're my two main sources of talking Tottenham. So feel free to check me out over there. I'll have something up for ahead of deadline day transfer related on YouTube if you fancy checking that out. But yeah, thanks again for having me on, and let's just hope we can get something over the line soon. Let's hope.
Mitch, you're a superstar. We know we're recording this as we head into the weekend and we're risking marriages and relationships. So we thank you enough and we're doing it all for the love of Tottenham. We must be crazy. Mitch Fretton, please go check him out on YouTube. And we love him on the show. Mitch, thank you so much. Jonny, thank you so much, mate. Like I say, I know we've put you for a stint so far on this January transfer. We know at the moment, I can tell you he's not done a hammy. As Jonny Hamme. He's not done a hammy just yet. You see what I did there? Hamme. We hope it's not going to be a hammy for Jonny.
I haven't done my hammy string yet. No,
just yet.
No pun intended. Listen, I've been on here 4 Fridays on the trot, coming in hope. I came every Friday morning. I wake up with hope. Yes, last word with Spurs. What's going to be the signing? We're going to have some news. and slowly but surely it's ebbed away. And I honestly didn't think we'd get to the 31st.
I wouldn't have
Still
thought it's
scratching away,
totally agree.
trying to find a crumb of comfort. But you can find me on Jonny H32 on X, Talking Tottenham 1882 on Insta, and if you get time to go and follow Sean and I's new channel, which we just started up, called Football Inc. on YouTube. Thanks very much for the follow, and thanks, Ricky, for having me on these 4 weeks. It's been a pleasure. Even though we've had no pleasure, it's been a pleasure.
Jonny, we'll see you more. Sorry to say that, we'll see you more. We're going to see Dave over at the Irish Hotspur more as well. We're bringing these guys back for more. People must think, God, what am I doing to these people? Is it a punishment? I'll let them decide. Dave, thank you so much. And I think, again, it reiterates the point. I think everyone does find your approach, Dave, very level-headed and balanced. That, you know, you do summarise a lot what Spurs fans feel at the moment. It's going to be an intriguing end to this window where we do need to act. Where will find you reacting to what Tottenham are acting upon in these final 72 hours of this transfer window? Dave, where can they find you?
Yeah, look, everyone can find me over at the Irish Hotspur if you enjoy, what I have to say or the contribution here. But I want to say thank you to Ricky for, keep inviting me on here. I really enjoy coming on. It's been a pleasure spending an hour with Jonny and Mitch. I actually came into this show not really looking forward to it because it was just like more bad news to deliver and talk to Spurs fans about. And, I feel like the Grinch at this point. And Christmas was nearly a month ago. But,
there is no Christmas as a Spurs fan. There's no celebrations. They all go out the window.
Do you know what? It's actually been therapeutic in a way to be able to talk through it. So thank you very much, everyone. The last word on Spurs audience out there listening. Thank you very much as well. Run up the likes for Ricky and the boys.
Bless your heart.
I'm sure I'll see you back here next Tuesday, I believe.
We are see you next Tuesday. Yeah, not in any bad way when we say see you next Tuesday at all. We love you very much. There's no pun intended on that one. We hope tomorrow's not watching the show because my God, we might scare him off. Some of the comments about in here. Nathan says, no wonder Tel said no. As long as Levy's running our club, no big players will want to join us. Would be surprised if he spins our youngsters who scored last night as new signings. Levy out, Enoch out. That's the general feeling across the group here. A reminder one more time, Change for Tottenham have put out their latest initial details on the protest march, Sunday the 16th of February. Our club, our voice. We implore you to get involved in that. Follow Change for Tottenham for more details on that. Look, we have been the last one on Spurs from the wonderful Jonny Hamme. Jonny, thank you so much.
Can I just say before we go, because Ricky
please.
never said it right. If you're watching on YouTube, not on audio, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the comments below. All helps helps grow the channel. Ricky
Got to hire this man. Got to hire this man, haven't I? Got to hire him. Jonny, thank you so much. We're going to see you very, very soon. Sorry to bring you back for more pain. Wonderful Mitch Fretton. Mitch, thank you so much. We're going to see Mitch back here very, very soon. Oh, it's testing times for these wonderful people. And the wonderful David the Irish Hotspur. Please go and check Dave out. Well, there you go. Tel is off. Tomori wants to have some time to weigh up his mind. What's he thinking? Is he just truly a human being? What are Spurs are going to do in this final 72 hours of the transfer window? Come back for more very, very soon. We've been the last one on Spurs. We'll see you very, very soon. And as always, please keep well, keep safe. Oh, the transfer window's coming to an end very, very soon. And as always, come on, you Spurs.